Americans are signing their independence, and it's Training Tuesday here on the Rob Maness Show, and we've got our X Spaces simulcast back up, and we saw that the Declaration for Military Accountability release on January 1st, 2024, by military citizens demanding accountability in our government. But before that, the Redeclaration of Independence efforts started in the fall of 2023. From their website, the Redeclaration of Independence is a national petition for representative accountability. We're officially petitioning our government and its representatives for redress. Our elected representatives have failed we the people, and the Washington, D.C. establishment has become the men of King George, the website says. And it goes on to say that we, the citizens of these United States, are now pawns in the Washington, D.C. empire scheme, much as the American colonies had become vassal states to the British Empire. Well, sadly, history does repeat itself, especially for those who ignore its teachings. It's time to recommit to the vows of liberty that our founders took 250 years ago. Only through a collective effort backed by millions of liberty-loving Americans can we hope to peacefully guide America back to its founding values by forcing change in our representation. My guest today is the primary drafter of the Redeclaration of Independence, Barry Hinckley. Barry is a great-grandson of a guy named Colonel James Barrett. Barrett was the commander of the Minutemen who engaged the British in 1775 at the North Bridge in Concord, Massachusetts. Coincidentally, Barry was born on April 18th, the day the riders left Boston to alert the Minutemen. He's also a software entrepreneur, having co-founded Bullhorn Software. He was a former U.S. Senate candidate from Rhode Island versus our favorite, Sheldon Whitehouse, the great racist that Sheldon is, Barry has been active in pursuing limited government and constitutional values since the Tea Party movement in Boston in 2008, which, though much maligned by the mainstream media, according to his website, in hindsight, the Tea Party movement predicted much of the problems that our nation's facing today. Well, Barry, welcome to the Rob Maness Show.
Oh, it's great to be here, Rob. Really is.
Hey, man, I want to show that first clip. If Mr. Producer, if you could run that clip number 1 from the Redeclaration YouTube site.
The architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence.
56 men came forward to sign the parchment, that they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honors.
That declaration is still a revolutionary document. To read it today is to hear a trumpet call.
My fellow Americans, it falls to us to keep faith with them and all the great Americans of our past.
Your bravery is scarier to the other side than any weapon you could marshal.
Let us readopt the Declaration of Independence. Let all Americans, let all lovers of liberty everywhere, join in the great and good work.
But today, as the world seems almost to unravel around us, there is much to dissent from.
If you had 10% of the population take that posture, this crap would end immediately.
That's a fantastic video, Barry. It doesn't tell the whole story, but it's really motivational, man. And I appreciate you coming on to talk with us today, especially with your background. And before we go too far, folks, you can sign the Redeclaration at redeclaration.com. Is that correct?
.org. Redeclaration.org.
Redeclaration.org. You can sign that petition. So if when you're listening here live, go to your computer, hit redeclaration.org, all one word, redeclaration.org, and sign the declaration. Because just like the military accountability petition, only enough Americans to build the numbers up on this thing will get the people inside the Beltway to pay any attention whatsoever to us, the folks out here that still believe in the Declaration of Independence. Well, Barry, tell the audience why you framed this around the original Declaration of Independence and what your inspiration was to take this step to get the American people to tell their elected officials, you have to change.
Well, I guess it's a few things. Being from New England and being part of a founding family, it's been part of my life for my whole life, and I've been keenly aware. Patriots Day was a big deal in New England. It was sadly becoming less so. So that's part of it. Growing up in a manufacturing family, watching our own country, from Washington D.C., essentially declare war on productive people in this country. Number two, and number three, it became very clear to me that Washington, D.C. is running a political empire, much like the King of England was. And they're no longer treating us as a republic. They're trying to pluralize us into some plural democracy like France, and ignoring the teachings of our founders, who did a great amount of research and settled on a constitutional republic for a reason, for exactly what we're seeing now, which is a centralized and too powerful government absorbing and eliminating individual liberty and states' rights. That's what motivated me.
Yeah, you sound strangely like an American, as opposed to
Oh my God.
as opposed to some of the leftists that I go even so far as to say Marxists that are both elected to and serving in United States governments at every level now, all the way down to the local level. And do you really expect them to listen to us?
Well, two things. I think they're Marxists in the streets. I don't think you've gone too far. I think, Antifa was essentially they're activists in the streets, the Bolsheviks,
Mhm.
and they're fascists, I believe, in Washington, D.C., corporate fascists. They're working with big corporations, and they're, certainly taking our rights away. So I don't think you've gone that far at all. Do I think they'll listen to us? And you mentioned this in your opening monologue. The only way they'll listen to us is if we get big numbers. Now, Bill Clinton was not a man of high moral value, obviously, but he was a successful politician and very good at it. And he said something that's always stuck with me. He said, politicians will never start the parade, but they will jump out in front with a baton if you do. This is my attempt to start the parade. And only if we get the numbers that you spoke about in your open, will we get their attention. Otherwise, they will continue to cook the system and get reelected because